What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Professionals Project. My name is Kenton Hipsher. Hopefully you guys all know now, but if you don't, I am the CEO and founder of the nonprofit, and our mission is to educate and inspire Black and Brown youth by exposing them to careers via Black and Brown professionals like the one that I have here today. So, without any further ado, let me introduce you all to our guest, the lovely, the beautiful, the intelligent. She got the braids in. She's locking it up. She's out here killing the game. She's flexing on y'all with the AirPods. You know what it is. Miss Angelina Howard.
Oh my gosh, that was a great introduction. I feel so hyped up now. Now I'm ready. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I love what you're doing, and shout out to everyone that's watching this and all the previous episodes. So thank you, and I'm happy to be here and provide whatever insights I have. Hopefully I can help someone along their career journey. I do want to say that my thoughts are mine and mine alone. I do not represent Amazon or any of its affiliates, but you have me. I represent me, and I think I'm pretty cool. So
You are pretty cool. You're way cooler than Amazon, so it's all good. I'm happy to have you. And thank you again for coming on the platform. So let's get it kicked off here. Please tell the people what your profession is.
Sure. So I'm a senior product manager at Amazon.com. I manage our digital business, so for digital software and video games, or DSP. What my role is in particular is to figure out what the customer journey is and make sure that it is the most optimal experience when you're on Amazon. And while I say Amazon.com, it is a global role. So figuring out the customer journey for Amazon in the US, the UK, DE, France, Spain, Italy, Japan.
Wow.
And it's really, right? I'm like, EU5, which I'm like, I don't know if everyone knows what EU5 is, so now I have to remember all of them. In Japan. So when you're shopping on Amazon and you're buying a video game, I am trying to figure out how I can take away as much of the ingress from that, but also making sure that you're enjoying your experience, you understand what you're purchasing, and giving really good insights into the game and making it the best purchasing experience as possible. So that is my job as a product manager. I'm also the global president of our Black Employee Network, which I love, Black Employee Network, or BEN. So those are my professions in a nutshell.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You're out here doing a lot. That is no easy task by any means, but once again, I'm super happy and grateful to have you on here. I know you're going to be dropping gems on us just everywhere, just a little gem here, a little gem there. So it's cool. It's cool. It's really interesting that you kind of have a great story about how you came into your career, because this isn't something that I think a lot of people know of. I don't think a lot of people are very familiar with this industry, for what I will call it. But I am very grateful. One, let me just put this out there first. I'm very grateful for the role that you have, because I hate shopping online and things are not functional. They're either broken, or they're too small, or it's like hella contrasty. And I am so thankful that you make that experience a pleasant experience for people like me and everybody around the world, especially those who love games, because who doesn't?
Yeah, how can you not love games? You know, I try to make it a pleasant experience. I know even within my own team, I look at some of our features and I'm like, we got to change it now. But I love being able to put myself in the position of our customers and consumers and thinking about what is a customer problem, and not just thinking about what is important to me, but also working with our UX researchers and designers to test our hypotheses, have them walk through the experience and figuring out what are those pain points, and then ideating on how we can solve those. So that's the thing that I love about my job, is that I'm able to hopefully eliminate some of the things that our customers are being vocal and saying that they don't want, while also thinking of what are customers not thinking that they don't like, but maybe they actually want something else. So that's what I really love about my job, is I can solve customer problems, but also think of problems that they don't even know that they have. So it's pretty cool. I didn't know it was the actual job until I got it. So
I didn't know. I didn't know like these jobs even existed until maybe a couple of years ago. So This is really new for me too. But I mean, it's cool to have the expert in this field on here with us today. So can you share with the people what your title is specifically?
Yes, so I'm a senior product manager. So I know a lot of people get confused. Like, does product manager mean that you're managing an actual like physical product? But that product can really vary depending on what team you're on or what your actual product is. So for me, I work on digital video games and software. So my product is digital video games. I'm not necessarily managing a particular product, but I'm creating these new features, these digital features. But there are product managers who are managing a physical product. Like we have product managers who work on things like, say, a Google Home or Amazon like Alexa device. You have Amazon Basics, so they're actually managing physical products. So it can definitely vary. In my case, I'm managing a digital product, and the management part, you know, they just call it a product manager.
I mean, you are in charge of like, keeping up to date and all the things that are associated with it. So you are technically managing something.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like a product manager is, you aren't the person that's in charge of the P&L, and oftentimes you're having to influence without authority. So I'm the product manager, and oftentimes I'm a product owner, but I have to get the business aligned and saying, hey, I need you guys to give me these inputs. I'm also having to influence my software development team to make sure that they're also building what I'm asking them to, but none of them reporting to me. So it's like you're a product manager, but you don't actually manage the people who are building it. You don't manage your stakeholders. So a big skill is really figuring out how do you influence without authority, which was a little bit like nerve-wracking at first. Yeah, it's like, okay, how do you do that? But it's a really great skill that to have, and it's definitely something that I feel like I've gotten better at over time. But so I was like, oh, they call it a product manager, but like you have no authority.
You have no power here.
I mean, you can block things and be like, well, we're not going to work on that product, but you really want to make sure that, at least my strategy is, how do I make it so that we're partnering together? It's a partnership. I want to work on products that you also want to build. I don't want to ask an engineer to work on something that they're just like, this is a terrible project, I don't want to work on that. So like, how do we make sure that we're thinking about the right products that you enjoy, that I will also enjoy, that will satisfy our customers? Because I don't want to work on a product that I'm just like, oh, this is terrible, but I have to try to make it just feel great. No one wants to do that. So I try to make sure that even though I don't necessarily have authority, how do I make sure that I'm influenced without authority? And to me, it's really building those partnerships with my key dependencies or stakeholders.
It's a very, very useful skill, how to influence people without necessarily being their direct manager.
Yes.
It's tough. It's a tough thing to do, but I mean, clearly you're doing it with grace. So congrats to you and kudos to you on such a great job. But, I think the nature of your role is constantly putting out fires, right? There's always an issue. There's always going to be something to improve. It's not necessarily going to be a perfect product at any point in time.
No. So when you're building products, a lot of companies call it like a minimal viable product. At Amazon, we called it a minimal lovable product because we want customers to love it. We don't want to just build the bare product and launch it. We want to say, well, it's a minimum product that we can launch that customers will love. We can get that feedback and make it better. We don't want to just make something that's so minimal that they're like, why? What is this? This button barely even works, So it is important to make sure that you are launching products, but you don't want to put all the bells and whistles per se in that very first one, because all the things that you think, you may have done customer research and like your team members may work on, may play this certain game. You want to launch something and get their feedback, and they may say, oh my gosh, I love that. They may say, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Or actually, when I try to play this on this other console that we didn't even think about, it doesn't work. So like, you want to launch things that aren't terrible, but so you get feedback and kind of make those feature improvements. So it's like, how do you find that balance? And a lot of it is trial and error, two-way door decisions, and really looking at what benchmark data you have. Do you have customer feedback for something else that you built? What have other people in the industry may have done? What are your things that you like about that? What would you have done better? So it's really figuring out those things. And then once you launch it, making sure that you're looking for customer feedback, whether that's a consumer or if you're building an internal product, what are employees saying? Are they actually using it? What's that abandonment rate? So those are things that you definitely want to like think about when you're building a product.
Great. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to consider all in one thing, which I mean, definitely warrants the title of manager if you're asking me personally, but I'm not the one who writes the checks. So, you know, it is what it is. But
you write me a check? I think I would love for you to be the person writing checks.
You know, I would be so happy. Amazon, if you're watching this, if you want to give me another job on top of the job that I have now, because I love my job, if you want to give me another job to write checks for people, I will. I will gladly do.
Everyone gets a check.
Exactly. It'll be like Oprah. Just look under your keyboard. Everybody gets a check. Everybody. But you've talked a lot about, you know, what are some of the factors and some of the things that really influence your job and your day-to-day work. But can you just walk us through quickly sort of what a day in the life of like your life basically is?
Yeah, it definitely varies depending on where I am in the product cycle. If you're at the beginning of the product cycle, I'm usually working with stakeholders to get different inputs, or I'm building out the business requirements and having a lot of meetings figuring out what do the engineers need as they're building out their design. I would say a typical day right now is because we've already kind of gone through the design phase and we're in what we would consider implementation. So I would say like a typical week, you know, you start off with meeting with my stakeholders. So talking to them about where we are in the process, getting any questions that they have so that they are brought along so that nothing is surprising to them. But in the case of my product, because it's across so many different marketplaces, I'm also asking them for certain information. So, hey, these are the ASINs being basically like product SKUs. So these are the titles that we're going to put this feature on. Are these the right features for your marketplace? Are you aligned with the decisions that we're making? So having those stakeholder meetings and touch bases at the beginning of the week. I have roadmap meetings. So for people who aren't familiar with like software development or product management, roadmap is us looking at the projects that we are actively working on, upcoming projects, saying what our status is, and we do that across our entire team. Then I have a grooming meeting with my engineering team, and that is looking at my current projects and what incoming tasks are, and we assign priority or points to them. And depending on the week, we may have a sprint. So during a sprint with the engineering team, they are looking at all the tasks for a project. They're looking at all the tasks for a project, and they're deciding how many tasks can they add in that upcoming sprint. So in our case, the sprint is 2 weeks. So they're saying, these are the things that I will complete, and we all align on that. As a product manager, I'm the one that gets to say, this is a priority, this is what's not a priority. And then we have a TPM who will say like, you guys have to do this one, or else we're gonna get off of our timeline, we're gonna get off track. So that's like a really big meeting that we have bi-weekly. And then we have daily stand-ups where the engineers say what they worked on the day before and what they're gonna work on that day, every day. And I actually really enjoy the stand-ups because I can understand how I can unblock them. Other than that, I write a lot of documents, and I don't know if it's an Amazon thing, but PMs write. I think I write something every single week, whether
Really?
It's a one page. Yes, we write a lot of documents. Amazon's a writing culture. We don't do PowerPoint. So if you have an idea, you write a one pager. Your idea is really great. You're going to do a PRFAQ, and then the PRFAQ is what would this look like if we were to actually launch it? And you typically work backwards from that. This is what my vision is, and how can I get there? The FAQs are internal FAQs, like, why are we building this? The customer FAQs are, what is this? And it's a really great way for you to think about what your products are. So as a product manager, you're writing PRFAQs, you're writing business requirements documents, you're writing retrospectives, you're always writing. You're writing your monthly roadmap briefing. I write a lot. I feel like I'm in college sometimes. And it's kind of like, all right, I'm write this document and I'm going to give it to my manager or my director, and I hope they like it. AKA, I hope I get an A on this paper. It's literally how it feels. But if it actually is a great way for you to get your ideas out, because you have to actually think about them. You can't just put them in a PowerPoint and say, this is pretty, this is what we're going to do. Like, you have to actually get your ideas out, which I've grown to actually like. I don't mind writing anymore.
Yeah, no, it is a good idea. I mean, whenever I'm thinking about a project that I'm working on, sometimes I'll try to make a slide deck out of it, but then I just end up, thinking too much about the imagery and not thinking about the content. And so usually I'll just pull up like a notepad or something and just write it out. And that helps me get the ideas out first. And then I can make it all beautiful and everything afterwards. But the beginning, at least, content is key. So getting that on paper.
Yeah, so that's my typical week for my product manager role. But I am also the president of BIN, so we also have a lot of events, especially right now, given that we're virtual. So we have events to focus on mental health wellness, especially with everything that's going on, professional development, and also figuring out how can we help Amazon as a company think about how we can support employees, the community, and our customers. So that is something that's really been a big part of my weekly job as well, is really figuring out how do I make sure that employees are feeling like they are supported, and how can I also support our leaders in figuring out what's the next steps and how do we drive forward change.
Yeah, and can you share with them again, what exactly the full acronym for BIN stands
Black
for?
Employee Network. Sorry. It's Amazon's Black Employee Network, but they are outside of the US. So we have 20 chapters. So US, international chapters include Costa Rica, Brazil, Toronto, UK, Cape Town, Luxembourg. For a global organization, which I think is awesome, and really explain to people that, there aren't just Black Americans, and the things that Black people in America face are similar to what people face globally, but also acknowledging the fact that they also face different things, and how can we highlight that? How can we highlight that Black culture is very vast? We are diverse within our own culture. So you think about Black Americans, you have West Indians, you have Afro-Latinos, you have people who are in Africa, you have Africans, and we are all, part of Black culture, but it's also so different. And how do we highlight and celebrate those things is something that's really important to me. And I'm happy that I'm able to do that through BIN.
Certainly, yeah. So if you work at Amazon and you were looking for something like this, you should hit my girl up here. Hit her up.
Join.
Share the wealth. Enjoy the diaspora that is BIN, and try to celebrate this diversity.
Yes, we are diverse within our own community. We're definitely focused on how do we think about intersectionality too. For me, I've really started to dive deeper into people with disabilities. I don't think people really think about that. When we talk about diversity, I think it's usually evolved around race or gender, sexual orientation, but people with disabilities is also a key part of when we're thinking about how to make sure that workplaces are more inclusive and diverse.
Certainly, yeah. All those demographics, I think, are factors within this. And so you just have to keep in mind, it's not just the main three. It spans more than just that. So it's good that you make that distinction. But sidetracking off a little bit out of your career, let's talk a little bit more about you, Miss Angelina. So can you please share with the people how you would describe your ethnicity and then where your hometown is?
Yes, so I identify myself as a Black American. I am from St. Louis. I was born in St. Louis, but I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I always say both because I feel like both have provided me with different insights into the person I am today. So everyone's like, you grew up like mostly in Denver and like as a teenager, and I'm like, no, my roots are in St. Louis. I grew up my latter half in Denver and then went to school in Fort Collins, Colorado, and then now live in Seattle.
Got it. And so with that background, let's talk a little bit about your education and how you got to the role where you are today, because that story in itself is very interesting. And I just want to share that with the people. So I'll kind of set the stage for you here with this question of, what's your academic journey really been to bring you to this point? Were you specifically looking into like UX, UI programs growing up, or was this something that you had no idea even existed?
I definitely did not know that it existed. I remember, some of the people watching this, they may not understand the MySpace days, but I remember, those were great times. That's when you really were able to be creative and have somewhere where you could just do all the things. And
I'm pretty sure I probably still have
now they have
a page.
TikTok. Oh, I'm pretty sure I do. Everything now is on TikTok. That's their version of being creative. Ours is MySpace with Tom.
Yeah.
But I remember being in high school and I used to love making my friends' MySpace pages. Like I was deep into Photoshop, so I would make all the designs and I would code them with HTML. I loved it so much. And no one told me that that was an actual career, because that was probably what I would be doing right now if had I known. But growing up, I was told that I had to go to college. You have to go to college, get your grades, you have to go to school. I'm a first generation student, so yes, I'm going to go to college, but I had no idea what I was going to go to school for. And I just remember sitting up watching the History Channel with my stepdad all the time, and I really loved it. And I told my aunt, and she's not my real aunt, but she's basically been like an aunt to me. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go to school for history. And she's like, okay, what are you going to do with that? She's like, do you want to be a history teacher? And I was like, no. And at that time, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was like, it doesn't really matter what I study in undergrad. This is what I've been told. And she's like, well, what if you don't go to law school right away? And I was like, that is a great question. So I remember telling her, like, well, I really love math, and I want to have a corner office somewhere in like downtown. And she's like, well, maybe you should go to school for business. My uncle he stayed at home, he majored in CIS, and I knew he made a lot of money. So I was like, I'm going to go to school for whatever he went to school for, and that sounds great. Again, I didn't know that CIS meant engineer. Had no idea that my uncle was an engineer the entire time. So I went to school for business. I was initially studying computer information systems, or CIS. Took my first class, hated it. So and I think it was just that class. I wish I would have stuck with it. But my educational background, as I went through college, I did corporate finance and supply chain management. And I graduated from Colorado State University with my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, or BSBA. It's a mouthful. And I started at Amazon immediately after. So Amazon's been my only job. I was first job, only job. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a rare find. A lot of people usually end up jumping, especially in the tech space.
Yeah, everyone's like, wow, really? But I think some of it's kind of like, my first job was Amazon, so I don't know what do I want to do, like, where do I go next?
What's bigger?
There's a lot of places to go. Yeah. So I was a brand specialist, which is like a vendor manager. I was an in-stock manager, and then I became a product manager. And product is so far from what I went to school for, because I didn't even know what a product manager was. I just knew that I wanted to be a PM, and having those talks with my manager, and he's like, program, product, project. And I'm like, I don't know, I want to be a PM. Everyone's talking about being PM, so that's what I want to do. So what I did in high school has kind of come full circle a little bit. I'm not an engineer, but that love of design and being creative has made me kind of engineer adjacent, is what I used to like to say. I'm coding adjacent. I get to figure out what it is, the product I want, and figure out what that experience should be, but I'm not the one that actually codes it. So it kind of has made its way around, but I really wish that I would have known about that opportunity back in high school. It probably would have changed a couple of things. Long answer to your question.
No, that was great. I mean, I wanted you to share the full story, so I'm happy that you did, and I learned a little bit too. I didn't know Amazon was your one and only job in your history, so that's cool.
My 6 years in corporate America have all been at Amazon.
Yo, shouts out to them for keeping you, though. That's important.
Yeah.
So now that we know a little bit about you, what your daily role is and how you got there, what are some of the challenges that you faced in your role thus far?
I think one of the biggest challenges that I face, and I'm still overcoming it, is as a product manager, it's your job to say no, and you're the person that really makes a lot of decisions. So either you're saying no to prioritizing something, or someone is asking you, hey, this is broken. How do we fix it? What should I do? Are you okay with this? And you have to make the other person makes that game time decision. And at times it's not comfortable, or I'm afraid to speak up in cases. And it's really important for me to speak up, because if I don't, I'm going to be stuck with something, or I'm going to be the blame for something. And I think where it's hard is, especially as a Black woman, I think just Black people in general in corporate America, we don't think that we have the same grace to be wrong. So I'm always kind of afraid, even though I feel 99% sure that my my judgment is there and I'm making the right decision, I hesitate sometimes because I'm scared of being wrong. I don't know that I'm going to receive the same amount of grace as my law and Black counterparts. And what I have to just know is that, and not that anyone has ever told me like, oh, you were wrong and we're not going to give you grace for that. I think it's something that subconsciously I'm just like, I don't think that I'm going to be able to have that same, response if I'm wrong. What I've done to overcome that is, having more confidence in myself, definitely having mentors who I can talk this through with, but also making sure that the decisions that I'm making are two-way door decisions. So if I say we're going to do this, how do I make sure that I have a contingency plan or something that can be easily reversed? And I think that knowing that I have a plan just in case has definitely made me be open to speaking up more, but also having a support system to say like, you're doing a good job, you're making the right decisions. If you don't make this decision, or if it's not the decision that's good, I have your back and I'm going to like stand strong behind you. So I think that has also helped me, and it's something that, because I've noticed that I do it, I make sure that I am that person that's standing behind other people too, so that I know how much the support system means to me, and I try to make sure I give that same support to others and know that they also have grace if they make the wrong mistakes. So I think that's a really big obstacle that I have in my current role, but just in general, coming to Amazon, I mean, I was 22, and I was the only person that looked like me, and I had a lot of ownership over things. And again, you kind of feel imposter syndrome as to how I get here. What if I make the right thing, make mistakes? What if I'm wrong? And you just have to gain that confidence that you need. So it's definitely something I've gotten better at, but something that I'm also aware that I need to continue to improve on.
Hey, that honesty and vulnerability, I think, is really key in anybody's growth. And it's great that you're able to acknowledge that and know where your weak points are, so then you can build on that and then, continue to grow. I talked to another product manager before this, and I remember him saying, being a PM is like being a tiny CEO. You have all the responsibility, but no power. And I'm like, wow.
Without authority.
Like, wow, that is so accurate. After hearing what you said, I'm like, okay, yeah, this definitely sounds so true.
Yeah, you're making these game time decisions, and if something goes great, everyone's happy. Things go wrong, it's like, well, you said we should do that. It's like, yes.
I did. Did I?
I did, but even if, say, something goes wrong with engineering, you're not the engineer, but it's like, well, you're the product manager. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, okay. Sometimes if you have a TPM, they get blamed for it, but if you don't have a TPM, it's all on you. It's you.
Yeah.
Well, that requirement was ridiculous. That took us longer. That's your fault. Like, well, I didn't know it's going to take you 3 weeks. You didn't tell me that. So it's like you're having to make these decisions, and when things go great, it's great, and when things go left, it is your responsibility to get it back on track. Everyone else looks at you. So it's a great position to be in. It definitely feel like a position of power, but it can be nerve-wracking.
Well, I will say that, being 6+ years at Amazon, continuing to climb the ladder, continuing to take on these leadership roles and excelling in them, that you're doing a fantastic job. So please have that confidence in yourself and continue to grow it, because you must be doing something right, if you keep growing and keep taking on these roles. So just want to give you your kudos and uplift you for the job that you are doing and the great job that you will do, I'm sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You are very welcome. So outside of the hurdles, let's talk about some of the things that are exciting. What gets you out of bed and makes you want to go do your job, makes you want to go make these game time decisions?
Yeah, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's just knowing that whatever I'm working on, I'm able to impact customers. And I think as I become deeper into like my product journey or my product career, is understanding that I am the voice of the customer and I am making these product decisions. So how can I make sure that decisions that I make impacts all of our customers? So I talked about when we talk about diversity, I think we often think about diversity in a sense of gender or race, but how can I make sure that I'm making sure whatever I'm building is more accessible? How can I make sure that I'm advocating for those things? So as a product manager, I get up every day and get excited about being a product manager because I can really make impacts on consumers and their experience. And that's what really excites me and drives me. And I think the more that I start to see how much influence I have over people's experience, it makes me want to continue to like learn more, ordering books to make sure that I'm understanding, what does accessibility mean? What color should I avoid? How can I think about design in a different way? What is the trends going for in the industry when we think about designs? So like making sure that I become better and better. And that's what really gets me up every day. To the point where I look at stuff that I don't even own and I'm like, on Instagram, for example, like, oh my gosh, I would change this. And like, oh my gosh, this is like a feature that I want to do. So like, I think all of my mind now, I'm just like, oh, what is this? Why does this load so long? Like, oh, I should totally go on their feature backlog. Like, it literally changed how I think about so many things. So I don't know. Now I think it's becoming like a part of who I am. Even when I was getting onto Zoom, I was like, why? Why is this like this?
It's crazy. It's like when I started going down the UX UI path a couple years ago and trying to figure out what this is all about, learning more about why people are making decisions the way that they are. I had a very small dose of what you're talking about, which I'm sure you experience every day. Is every time I open a program, I'm thinking, oh my God, who decided this was a great choice? Why is this menu like hidden or smaller than the size of my cursor? Like, this doesn't make any sense. But it's little things that you can't get right for every person, right? There's no way you're going to satisfy everybody. But as long as you're able to see the trends and I think, issues that are coming up for people all over the place and try to condense those down to the most important ones, that's really the best you can do. Like, you can't do any more than that.
Yeah, so I think when you are able to do like the best that you can and you start to see like those results of what you're working on, whether it's good or bad, just getting that feedback is super valuable, and it makes me feel good. And when I say like, and I love when I get constructive feedback where they're like, oh my gosh, this feature just sucks because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, yes, tell me that why it's bad so I can go make it better. Like, because, I think we get some reviews and like, this is great. And I'm like, but why? What did you like about it? What should we do more of? So I don't know. I think my biggest thing is I love the fact that I can really impact customers and improve their journey. And I think when I start to really think bigger about who are the customers that we're leaving out and how can we fix that going forward, but also what are the things that are really big pain points and how can we also add that to our roadmap so that we can fix those things now. That's really been my biggest focus recently, is I don't want anyone to have to go to the site and not be able to use it.
Got you. Yeah, I think for me, I have a deeper appreciation for the feedback forms than I used to now that I've done a little bit of this. In that, I always try to give detailed comments when I can, just so people really do understand, because it's not like you're having a conversation with the person. They just see if you clicked the 0 or the 5 smiley face and the comment that you left. That's all that they have to work off of. So at least know that I'm trying to do my part in helping you guys.
Thank you. I remember seeing a comment, someone was like, EA sucks. And I was like, that has nothing to do with us.
That's not on me, sir.
I was like, okay. So yes, people who are watching, if you leave reviews on anything, whether it's Amazon or other platforms, please explain why you like it or do not like it so we can make things better or fix it. Thank you.
There it is, y'all. If y'all listening out there, which you should be, leave a detailed comment, please. As a matter of fact, leave a detailed comment here in this video. Let us know what you liked. Let us know if you're getting nuggets of gold here. Let us know if you like my tie. If you like her hair.
I like your tie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Passion twists. Thank you.
Look at them. Beautiful. Beautiful Black queens out here. But moving forward, what would you say is one misconception someone may have about you?
Like me or like my role?
I would say both. Because you get a little bit of both, right? No one's saying like, oh, product management in general. They're just talking about you if they're talking to you. So
I would say a lot of people, when they look at my role and they're like, oh my gosh, you're a manager. And I'm like, I'm not. I don't manage people. So I have friends who literally think that I manage people. And I'm like, every time I talk to you, I still don't manage people. I'm an individual contributor. They're like, oh, you make the big bucks. You're a manager. And I'm like, nope, it's just me. So I think that's a big misconception. People who may not know like what product managers are, or people think that I'm managing like an actual physical product. I'm not managing like an actual physical product. So I think that's a really big misconception that I see a lot of people say. I think another one is that product and program and project are the same. They're not. I know people say PMs, which I usually ask people to like, oh, like I'm a PM, and I'm like, which one? Product, program? So I would also just encourage people to understand the difference between the two, because the three, because they're not the same. They do different things. They're all equally really great roles, but I would encourage people to dig deeper into like what is a program manager, project manager, and product manager, and also understand that it could vary by company. For example, product manager is called a program manager at Microsoft, which is very confusing because a program manager at Amazon does not work with engineers. So I would just encourage people to do a little bit of that research. Misconceptions about me is that some people think that I'm like not that nice. I guess I don't have like a welcoming face sometimes.
What?
I know, I'm shocked too. But they're like, yeah, you just don't always seem approachable until like you start talking, then you just like are so full of personality. So maybe it's just, and I'm like, well, depending on when you see me, I may have had a long day and I probably don't want to talk to anybody. But I'm a very personal person. I am introverted, so maybe that's also it. But I think that's a big misconception, is that I'm standoffish, and I'm like, no, I'm introverted, so I'm also very shy. But I think I'm nice once I get to know people and open up. So I think those would be my two big misconceptions.
Okay. Yeah, I would say you're similar to me in that you're an extroverted introvert. So like I would assume based off of our conversations that you're comfortable in social situations like an extrovert would, but then you give out so much energy during the day and in your work that when you come home, you need that time to like recover.
Oh yes.
So that's exactly how I am.
Yeah, I remember, I think it may have been last October, I was doing a lot of different like events for Ben. I was doing speaking events, and I literally got to the point where I was like, I have no more energy. Like I need to be alone. And I don't think people understand. I think like I went to Afrotech in Oakland, and after that week, I just was so wiped out. I was like, I have nothing left to give, because we had Afrotech, I think the week before we had another event, and then I was on vacation, and I just felt like I was around people too much. And people probably saw me like after those 3 weeks, I probably did look like, just don't talk to me. I just want to be in a corner by myself. So yeah, I'm definitely an introverted extrovert or extroverted introvert. I don't know which way it goes, but I am that
Either
person.
way.
Whatever it is, I'm that.
I got you. So we're getting close to the end here. Do you have any pieces of advice that you would give, say, a young Black or brown youth who wants to follow in your footsteps, or even like younger Angelina?
Yeah, I would say anyone that's thinking about being a product manager or just figuring out what industry, I know it usually when I say it, people are kind of like easy for you to say, but I would say definitely make sure that you're thinking about what makes you happy. So I would say first, understand what your passions are and how can you do that on like full time, because we spend so much time at work. You don't want to work on something or work somewhere that doesn't make you happy just because it makes XYZ number of money. Do not make money be your motivator, and don't go to a company just because of its name, which is people usually look at me like, easy for you to say, you work at Amazon. But if Amazon wasn't a place that made me feel comfortable, make me feel good, I wouldn't work here. So it definitely say, understand what your passions are. Don't let anyone tell you to work in a certain role. Don't let anyone tell you to be an engineer, because that's where the industry is going if you don't want to be an engineer. I have friends who went that route and they were miserable, and then they went and did marketing at a tech company, and they're so much happier. Do they make as much money as an engineer? No, but their quality of life is so much better. So it definitely say, figure out what you're passionate about and don't let anyone drive you in a different way. Once you figure out, say you want to be a product manager, figure out what industry you want to get into. So like while I work at Amazon in e-commerce, I'm on the video games team. I cannot imagine if I was a product manager on like pets. I don't have a pet. I'm allergic to dogs and cats, so I would probably not be super happy and excited. If you hate video games, you probably don't want to work on a team with video games. So figure out what industry is of interest to you. But in that same vein, make sure that whatever industry that you're going to is growing and has a positive outlook. So for people who are trying to get into product, I would say definitely look at, streaming media, cloud. Those are places that are growing. But even within those things, with AWS, Google Cloud, what are the different products that are built onto those? So I would just say dig deeper into those industries. What is of interest to you, but also what is growing? And then I would just say do your research and continue to educate yourself, continue to learn. Even though I'm in my role now, tech moves fast. I mean, when I first started Amazon, we didn't even, Alexa and Google Home and all that was not a thing, even though it's a part of our everyday life now. So definitely continue to learn, be eager to want to understand how you can become better in whatever it is that you do. I'm constantly ordering books, talking to people, following different Instagram accounts. So definitely continue to learn, and whatever that means for you, whether that's reading, watching different movies, following different accounts, continue to be curious. So I would say those are the things that I would recommend for anyone, whether it's product or anything in general.
There it is. There's that nugget of gold, y'all. Be curious. As a matter of fact,
learn and be curious.
Be curious about our series too. Why don't you check out the other episodes that we have here? We've got tons of episodes for you guys. And if there's a career out there that you're interested in and you want to know more about, drop me a comment. Drop it in the comments. Let us know. So ultimately, I will go out there and I will reach out to these people cold. I don't care. What do we have to lose here?
I'll help him find some people. Let us know what you want. I'm here.
Look at that. Look at that. That's love right there. See, this is what we're building a community here. So join the community. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Join the community, y'all. It's all
join
there.
The community. I don't use Facebook, but join the community on Instagram and LinkedIn. They deleted my Twitter account, so my Twitter account's not as cool anymore. So anybody watching Twitter, if y'all that work at Twitter, help me.
RIP her Twitter account.
Had a lot of followers.
Oh man, that's funny. But I digress. So any closing thoughts or shout outs that you want to give? Shout out to your moms, stepdad, anybody.
Shout out to you for doing this and bringing this to the community.
Thanks.
There's a lot of people who do things similar, but I would say your passion for it and your interest in it is very genuine. So thank you for allowing me to share my experience, but big ups to you for providing this platform to help educate the youth. I wish that there were people like you who could do this so that maybe I would have known what opportunities were there. So big ups to you. I applaud you and I thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do, because like I tell you guys all the time, I do this for free, y'all. I don't take no donations.
$9.99. It's just free.
It's free. You ain't even gotta pay 2 cents. The only 2 cents you need to drop are in the comments. That's it. That's it. It's free, y'all. I don't take no donations. It's truly a non-profit.
We love a caring king. Not Karen, caring king.
Look at that. My heart is full right now. Go ahead and make my heart a little bit fuller by clicking that like button, making sure you subscribe, and making sure you comment, because we need all of it. We need all of it here. And hit the little bell so you never miss another episode of the #Black Professionals Project. My name is Kenton Hipsher. We want to thank our guest, Miss Angelina. Thank you for showing up in all your glory. Just killing the game out here, just flawless.
I have to give a shout out to my friend's brand though. Check him out. It's on Instagram. We'll drop a link.
I saw that before and I was like, yo, that's so dope.
Yes, Black on. I try to make sure I represent my friends. So
look at you.
Check it out on IG. Early on.
Just so much love and good energy just oozing from you.
I try.
Sunshine out here. Just being a sun. Just a sunshine. But all right, with that, we're going to close out the show, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We will see you guys as we always do every Monday. So if you're curious, you want to know what's coming up next, drop me a link in the comment. drop me your info. I will add you to our newsletter so you can see what's coming up the next week. Also, down in the description, you'll find a lot of links. There's career placement tests, so you can figure out, oh, what career fits me best. There's personality tests, so you can figure out what kind of personality you are. There's also links to internships, externships, research programs. So if you want to get, paid to learn something, a free experience to travel to a new place, there's your opportunity right there. So with that, we are going to say goodbye, but we'll see you again next Monday. Have a good day. See ya.